What do the commissioners have to say?
Well, I think, and I don't know whether you've had a chance to talk to Mike or not concerning this. We've been sent, obviously, since this first started several days ago, and we've received a number of emails and phone calls, but we've also done an internal investigation on this. This incident dates back, I think, to July. Disciplinary action was taken sometime later last year. Michael also forwarded the videotape to the city prosecutor for his review as to whether or not criminal charges should be filed in this case, and that was returned to him, or the decision, I think, was made that there was no probable cause or no finding that there existed any probable cause for any criminal charge to be filed. And therefore, really, all of these matters were effectively resolved as far as Deputy Officer Salvaco would be concerned with regard to the disciplinary action that took place last year in his review of the criminal matters and so forth. That effectively closes the issue with regard to Deputy Salvaco's conduct in this. Of course, we don't condone what happened. He was disciplined. I'm sure some people in the community think that he should have been disciplined more than what he was disciplined, but that was the review. I think that we have a factual review of this matter. And again, Mike, I don't know if you want to read that statement, but we've done a thorough review on this. Some of the facts that have been stated or placed on the internet, I think, are not exactly complete or accurate with regard to the treatment that this dog did receive and so forth. And Mike, I guess, would be up to you if you would like to do so, to read that summary, I guess, of your findings.
Is that something we could record? Would that be right?
Yes.
No. Okay. Dick Russ from Channel 3. I was quickly summoned from my duties up at the trial there. Because we were one of the stations that this tape got. One of our reporters came down the other night, and I don't know how we got the tape or how it ever even got up on YouTube. But we heard there was going to be addressed in some manner, but it's public speak, and so. Do you want me to just put it down there or something?
Close to him, yeah.
Just so you know, I didn't bring him here. We just met in law.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't my fault.
That is okay.
No, that's okay.
Can you be able to hear that? Would you state your name for the...
Yes, sure. My name is Mike Bickus. I am an assistant prosecutor with the Starr County Prosecutor's Office. I have been contacted starting last Friday by the Starr County Commissioners and by the Dog Warden's Office for purposes of complying with public records requests related to a video that was posted on YouTube. And the Commissioners also asked me to review the records and to provide a summary for them of the facts that were contained in those records. And I believe those records have been made available to most of the parties that are here, but if there's anybody here that wants them that does not have them, they will be made available to you. Just give me your contact information. Based on a review of the facts, because it does appear that the description that was posted along with the video was incomplete in regards to what had happened. At 9:55 a.m. on July 25th of last year, 2011, the Starr County Dog Warden's Office received a report regarding an aggressive stray dog that had been confined in the area of 636 Garfield Avenue Southwest in Cleveland. The caller stated that the dog was insane and going crazy on the line. As a result, the dog warden dispatched Deputy Dog Warden Phil Sedlaco to respond to the call. Upon the arrival, the dog was still very aggressive. Was charging the deputy. The deputy made several attempts to restrain the dog, first with a leash, later with a catch pole. Ultimately, when those were unsuccessful, both for the safety of the property owner as well as the safety of the deputy dog warden, a decision was used to use a tranquilizer dart. That tranquilizer dart, using 1.5 cc's of Telazol, was used to sedate the dog. The dog was brought back to the Starr County Dog Warden's Office at approximately 10:45 a.m. Given the prior aggressiveness of the dog was removed from the van using the catch pole. The dog was sedated at this point, but it was not unconscious, therefore still capable of inflicting injury to the deputy dog warden. Thereafter, Phil Sedlaco, inappropriately and in violation of departmental policy, did spray the dog with the hose after removing the dog from the van. However, contrary to what was posted on YouTube, the hose was not a high-pressure hose. It was a standard hose. The dog warden then examined the dog. It can be noted on the video doing so. She noticed a small hole in the dog's upper chest, which was consistent with the dog being darted. There was a small amount of external bleeding that was going on at that time. The dog warden applied pressure to the wound, and the bleeding was stopped. Thereafter, the dog warden contacted a veterinarian regarding the dog's condition. At this time, all involved felt that there was no need for additional concern. However, later in the day, the dog continued to be lethargic. The dog warden contacted the veterinarian again repeatedly with updates regarding the dog's status. At that time, the dog warden was advised by the veterinarian that she contacted to just give the dog time and to keep the dog under observation. The warden did that. In fact, she scheduled additional individuals to come in after the dog pound closed at 4 p.m. for the purpose of continuing to check on the dog after business hours to make sure to check on the dog's status. Ultimately, when the deputy came in at around 9:20 p.m., the dog was still lethargic. At that point, a decision was made to take the dog to the Stark County Emergency Veterinary Clinic for further diagnosis and treatment, at which point the dog was examined by the veterinarian at the Stark County Emergency Clinic, and it was determined at that time, there was a decision with the dog warden at that time as to whether or not to euthanize the dog. While that conversation was taking place, the dog did die at the Stark County Emergency Clinic prior to a decision being made to euthanize. It is believed, based on the examination done by the veterinarian at the Stark County Emergency Clinic, that the dart may have internally nicked an artery and caused internal bleeding, which was not immediately apparent to the dog warden or the dog warden's employees. After having reviewed that, Deputy Sedlacko was disciplined for inappropriately spraying the injured dog with the hose from a distance, as well as the matter was then referred to the Canton City Prosecutor's Office to determine if the city prosecutor, who would have jurisdiction over the matter, felt that there was any conduct there that supported criminal charges. I was informed by the Canton City Prosecutor's Office from Ty Horowitz, who is the chief prosecutor over there, that they felt that there was insufficient evidence of criminal activity and that they would not be moving forward with criminal charges.
On the discipline of Mr. Sedlacko, was that a consequence of a hearing that you held?
No, it was not. There was not a hearing held in regards to that matter. I actually did not, our office was not involved with this matter at that time. We have become subsequently involved due to the request for information and so forth.
Okay, was there a prior incident at the dog pound involving Mr. Sedlacko, which you conducted a hearing on and made some findings?
No. There was a subsequent hearing that was conducted, not related to his treatment of animals, but related to his use of sick leave. That matter, I presented on behalf of the dog warden to an independent hearing officer who did make some findings with regards to that and found that his subsequent use of sick leave did not violate the policies and procedures set forth by the county's policies, as well as the union contract in this regard. Anything else?
To the commissioners. Ms. Schenkel, I asked the commissioners to make a thoroughgoing reevaluation of the Stark County Dog Pound. Are the commissioners disposed to respond to that request?
I guess my comment would be, Martin, and you're aware of that I've only been in office for approximately 1 year and several months. I don't recall, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall that anyone has come to us before with a public complaint of public speech. Certainly not Mrs. Schenkel, I don't believe, with that, nor have I ever met her before with any complaints that I am aware of. So her presenting the complaints in the manner that they were presented today it was something that I had not previously heard. With regard to the dog pound, there are ongoing issues there. There have been ongoing issues there. The current dog warden, Reagan, has been appointed, and again, she was appointed before I came in, but probably sometime, I think, Mr. Hankey, in 2010 or 2010.
Yes.
And again, there were ongoing issues before then. I think that a lot of progress has been made while she has been dog warden. I think that there's progress to be made into the future. We're concerned about this department the same as we are concerned about all of the other safety and other departments within county government. We want it to operate it well, and we want it to be not only operate on a C level or on a C plus level or B minus level, but we want it to operate at a level at which it is respected by by its peers and by the volunteers and so forth. We appreciate the work that the volunteers do out there. It's a very important work. We love dogs. We love animals. We want them to be well cared for, given the limitations that occur within a dog pound. One thing that we have done, and we do take this seriously, I'm not even sure whether the commissioners are aware of this, but I had asked Mr. Hankey earlier this week if he would please take a day from his schedule as county administrator, and most of his time is spent in the office because of the demands made upon him, but he intends, I think, to go this Friday and spend a day at the dog pound and at the dog warden's office, and spend some time with the deputies that go out, perhaps ride with them and look at other aspects of it, look at the cleanliness of it, talk to the volunteers and so forth, and come back and make a further report to us. If we need to spend more time on this, we will, because again, we care about the dog pound, we care about county government, we care about the voters and the citizens, and we care about their concerns. And we will keep looking at this.
What do you think is within the purview of the commissioners, balancing the concerns of some members of the public here, along with the findings of the gentleman here in question, that there was not criminal behavior, but that it was he violated some provision in his discipline? How do you? Is there anything you do proactively, legislatively? Do you further review his status as an employee, or what? How do you go from here?
Well, I think it's important to note that, again, this has risen to your attention, for example, just within the last several days. The disciplinary action that was taken in this, and again, Mike, correct me, I think it was taken as long ago as July 29th. That disciplinary action, by the way, was taken without coming to the attention of the board because it's nothing that required the board's approval. I think at any point in time that somebody's given time off and so forth for an offense, and it comes to us for our approval, but anything less than that, such as this, I was not aware of discipline or this particular matter until much later on. I think that forecloses, though, the issue of disciplinary contract matters and so forth. I think that Mike's review with the prosecutor, and I think that his review of the tape and the prosecutor's review of the tape indicates that there's going to be no further issues with regard to criminal charges filed in this particular matter. That doesn't say, though, again, that we can't do a better job with the dog pound. It doesn't say that Deputy Sadlaco can't do a better job. I think that he understands because he signed with regard to this disciplinary action. When I look at this thing, he, I think it acknowledges, by the way, some of the shortcomings with regard to his conduct on that particular date. I think it is important, though, and that's the reason why we asked for this investigation, that there are facts that haven't come out necessarily on the internet or other aspects of this with regard to the fact that there was ongoing consultation with a veterinarian in the course of that particular day on several occasions. The dog was not openly bleeding. There was a nick where it was the dark, but that's what it was believed to be. And they were not aware that the dog was dying. They, in fact, thought that the dog just had been overdosed to a certain extent, and the veterinarian was advising them to probably let the dog lie a little bit longer, and the dog should respond and come out of it from the amount of the tranquilizer and so forth. So it's all an unfortunate set of events that has occurred. I guess the good that comes out of it, by the way, is that we will pay additional and more attention to the dog warden's office. And again, our first step will be, of course, was to ask Mr. Vickers to take a look at this for us with regard to everything that has happened. But our second step is to ask Mr. Hankey, who is quite capable, to go out there and take a closer look at that. And from then on, we will get involved in this, I guess, personally, to the extent that is necessary to take a look at this as well as the other things that we're looking at.
Immediately.
We are full-time commissioners. We take our jobs seriously, and kind of try to divide up the work and so forth. And one of us is working in different areas at this point in time. But if one of us needs to get involved more so with the dog pound, we will do so. We care.
Though, you can't fire the guy because
No.
of the internet outcry.
Right.
Yes.
It's just evoke the emotion of animal lovers, and that's understandable, so.
If I, by the way, were to pull out my phone, by the way, my Apple phone, and you look at the 100 pictures on it, by the way, 50 of them are with grandkids with our dogs. So we love dogs, and we care about dogs very much, and we appreciate really everybody's concern, and it leads us to just look at this harder and longer. Yes, I'm sorry.
A couple more comments and question. First of all, in regard to not having this brought to the commission before, I'd appreciate it if you kind of dig through and look to see if that's correct, because I believe, I recall seeing a video from a meeting last year, I think it was in the fall, where a woman came to Public Speaks and her dog had been inappropriately euthanized, and that there was a big outcry, and there were some stories in the repository about that.
I see Mike nodding his head yes. Tell me about that. Was it one of our meetings, or was it a dog advisory
No,
board
they brought
meeting?
to our attention, it was the dog from Louisville, if I remember correctly, that was improperly euthanized.
The dog had been, my understanding of it, don't mark my, just going by what I've read in the media, my understanding was that the dog had accidentally escaped. It was a well cared for dog. It had tags. It had everything. And the dog was picked up by the dog pound. She contacted them, said, I will be there in the afternoon to pick the dog up. And when she got there, the dog had been euthanized. And it had not gone through any kind of wait period or anything. That's kind of my understanding. And I do recall,
that does sound
You're right.
familiar.
It was
I
logged
do.
by one deputy and then logged differently by another deputy. And there was a mix-up in that paperwork.
I guess I would, again, yes, I do recall that. I would consider that be different and akin from the issue of the officers actually physically abusing or being cruel to animals. I guess that was more of an administrative administrative,
the other thing, question I have for you is, there are volunteers that work very actively for the comfort of the animals in that facility, and I know you can't act on rumor, and that's difficult for them to understand at times because they are witnessing things, but they are not reporting those things sometimes because of their fear that the dog pound is going to kick them out, that their volunteer efforts are not, they feel like their volunteer efforts are kind of always on the edge there, and that should they speak up about problems, that their activities could be ceased. And so I guess my hope is that when you go tour the facility and that you explore these issues, that maybe you look at these interactions between the staff and the volunteers, and how can we make that a better relationship so that all are working in the favor of the dogs. I'm a kind of person that I believe most people are doing things for the right reasons. Occasionally somebody is not. And when that's the case, we need to deal with that. I understand your dilemma that there are certain things you can do and you can't do. And I also understand the volunteers who are witnessing things that they feel their hands are tied to report. So somehow if we can rectify that kind of dysfunctional relationship, I think that would be to the public and the dogs good.
We appreciate that, and we all have been out at the dog pound. We've been out there on several occasions. I participated in coming to the St. Kitts Day for the dog food collection event and so forth, but on other occasions as well. I almost actually adopted one of the beagles.
Tried to get me to adopt.
I tried to get me to adopt a dog also.
I say this about this board and previous boards. They've always encouraged volunteers, or anyone, frankly, to bring to their attention whatever they might see, and encourage it to the standpoint where, from my own standpoint, say, should get in contact with me if that's the case. Certainly, I always encourage them to talk to the dog warden. I think you would find her to be quite responsive.
The perception of a public person versus a person that's in an ongoing relationship, I can tell you that most volunteers are not comfortable with that relationship with her. Probably would feel, I'm glad the door's open that they could come to you as well.
Sure.
So at least they have some rules.
We will try to do better.
And I offer myself as kind of helping any of that regarding things to be able to become my assistant. I know that there's hell hath no fury like an animal rights activist angered, and I tried to mediate through some of that stuff.
Well, do you accept Ms. Schenkel's point that the commissioners haven't exercised due diligence to correct these long-standing problems? And I'm talking about this Board of Commissioners. Do you accept?
I'm only chuckling only because you're chuckling as you ask me that question. So I guess I'll ask you why you're chuckling as you ask me that question. But we can, Martin, you know me well enough that I always think we can always do better no matter what we're doing. And I think that we can do better with this.
Have you talked to the dog warden? There's a dog warden advisory board or committee. Have you guys had discussions with them? Because I know that they've brought forward.
I have had lots of discussions with them.
Just so you understand, again, we talked about, we kind of divide up our work, not necessarily on a formal basis and so forth, but kind of know where I kind of spend my time in the office and on a lot of legal things and on a lot of sales tax issues and so forth. And now I'm into the area, as you well know, Martin, 911 dispatch radios and so forth, and that's where I was this morning. Commissioner Creighton, without, putting this on her, this is an area, by the way, that she has been the front person with the dog advisory board and so forth. She's been on a number of occasions individually and with the group as a whole.
Yes, and the door's always been open. They've come in and chatted. They have brought some concerns that I think are valid. Yeah. I guess I kind of lost my train of thought.
It reminds me of the second
there are
son.
some things that are valid. There are some things we just discuss about the ongoing changes that we could make at the dog pound. They have a lot of great ideas. They also bring a resource, not only in volunteerism, but in dollars. But I think we also understand that, there are certain statutory things that we must do, and there are things that we make the decision on, and I appreciate the volunteers, but we have a protocol that we follow. And quite frankly, Reagan is the dog warden. She was appointed by the previous boards, and I'm going to give her the opportunity to lead her department, and I'm not going to be a micromanager over her.
Have you given any thought to having a work session where, Commissioner Burnaby made a good point, that you divide up your responsibilities, and would it be a good idea just to present an opportunity for the public to know exactly what you are doing, except for, of course, privacy issues that you can't share, but anything that's out there for the public, shouldn't we collect this?
Well, I think one of the things we talked about, and I don't know whether you were at the last department head meeting that we had, but one of the things we're going to try to do this year, which is a little bit different than we did last year, only because, again, Commissioner Creighton and I were both new to the entire system. So what we want to do, and again, we've commenced that, is to have departments heads to come in on a more regular basis to work sessions. Not only come to the department head meetings where they make a presentation with all the other department heads, and they may only speak for 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, but actually come in and spend an hour or more with us on issues that are arising within the realm of their particular department or their office, and areas that they think that we can help them with, or areas that they think need more attention and so forth. So our focus is on that. It's slightly a different focus than we had last year, just because we're slightly more mature. I'm a lot more mature, in our jobs and so forth. So we need to get Reagan in as well as other department heads and tell us more about